Welcome, everybody, to the news segment, April 14th, 2023. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live every single Friday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/BetterOnDraft and Twitch.tv/BetterOnDraft. You can join us, chat with us, interact with us as Muttbone, Bats, Spagee, and Riverathon had been doing, as well as Dan, who is actually in Michigan today, but hanging out up in Traverse City with his wife, doing some brew touring, so obviously not listening at this time. During the break, Muttbone did say that, Wendy, you won. So if this was Muttbone deciding it, you are in fact the winner. But the first thing that I do want to go over here, before we get into the news segment, is, of course, we had our March Draftness competition, in which we had 64 breweries compete against each other for online supremacy, in which we will now go to the winning brewery, buy a keg, and give it away based on however they want to do it. That has not been decided yet. No date, no time, no info. The only thing that has been decided is, of course, the winner, which is Ogma Brewing over in Jackson, Michigan. So we will be heading over to Jackson one day to be buying a keg of beer. We don't even know what beer it is yet. So we'll hope to find that information soon, which we'll post on our site. Congratulations.
Does that matter?
I mean, free beer to you is free beer to you. We're still paying for it here at Better on Draft. Congrats to two guys, of course, for participating. We appreciate the participation, along with the semifinalists that did not make it into the finals, which is Rustic Leaf Brewing over in Waterford. Damn, did they have a good showing. Definitely,
yes, they did.
Ogma had to pull out all the guns to get past them too, as well as two guys. And Oddside casually walking into the semifinals, as Dan would say, not giving a fuck, just kind of going off of name value itself. But we appreciate every single brewery for participating. Of course, we mentioned there were 60 others, too many to get in touch with. But again, we will be back next year, hopefully with some better ideas on how to vote. Because folks this year in 2023 still have not figured out how to use emojis in the like system, as well as figured out wrong ways to vote, even more so this year. So we'll figure it out, but don't worry. For those that were like voting in the comments and stuff, we responded to every single one of them saying how to properly vote, took them to a video so they knew how to do it on their phone or on their computer. So we did our part. That's all I can say, is we tried our best to make sure that their votes counted. With that in mind, let's go over and see what everybody is drinking for the news segment, starting with Nick. Nick, what do you got?
We talked about it once. It was mentioned. I'm now going to do this and drink a Killian's Irish Red.
My gateway beer.
A lot of people's gateway beers. It's such a great drinking beer. I remember when we had oh my god, 10th and Blake on, and I could not find a 6-pack of Killian's anywhere, and it was blowing my mind that it took me like 8 stores. You guys, like, I was doing like updates to everyone in our Slack channel, just like, can't find it here, can't find it, and I'm going to like really like blue collar, like, but like where you get malt liquor and stuff, couldn't find it. And even the people that I would be talking to and that I'm looking for, I'm like, you got Killian's? They go, of course we got Killian's. And no, they don't. I found it in a walk-in cooler at a random bar. That's where I found the Old Nation double Detroit Dwarf, that double shtick that
Oh man,
that we had during the Old Nation episode. But Nick, you got a Killian's. Wendy, what do you got over there?
so I finally cracked open that church salad from Pulpit Rock. Seriously, hands down, one of the best sours I've ever had. And normally I'm not into kettle sours. Fantastic. It's so good. But I also, in the end of the last show, cracked open a Mad Furry, which is an Ascension Brewing Company New England IPA. I thought the name was cool.
I just finished the Tangerine Space Station. I still got a little bit left of the Common, so I did refill. I do have the New Holland Gander Bach, which was in one of their mix packs, which is where I got the Space Station. And then I have the Irish Hills Red Lager from Wolverine State. which I am going to be drinking. But this is always the news segment, so we are going to go over some craft beer news that's going on right now. And I know Wendy has been working hard to find some news for us to talk about today. So we'll start with Wendy's article. Wendy, what do you want to talk about today?
So I'm actually going to go in a different direction than what I told you I was going to go. I actually have two short things that I want to talk about because I just need your guys' opinions. So apparently hop growers in Spain are saying that droughts and higher summer temps are leading to an extreme reduction in yield. And to combat that, they are working with a group of scientists to create a program where the hops are grown vertically in water in a facility that uses only renewable energy and no pesticides, which all sounds great. The program allows them to use less land and 95% less water than traditional farms. And the idea is to have similar facilities right next to the breweries using them, where they can capture the CO2 from fermentation to accelerate the photosynthesis of the plants. So basically, they'd be building these buildings that are 100% renewable energy where they grow their own hops. So I'm just curious what you guys think about that.
I'll start off by saying hydroponics as well as vertical farms, I think is what a lot of them are called, which are these indoor farms that are taking off. There's actually a few of them in Detroit. I had the opportunity when I worked for Toast to visit one, which was really neat. Because it's just something that you kind of have to see to understand and believe. But as you are growing inside, you're growing with hydroponics. And as you're growing inside, you're getting fake sunlight, not natural sunlight. So do I think that the average Joe could tell the difference between a Cascade hop grown in the, proper latitude versus a Cascade hop that was scientifically grown versus hydroponics? Absolutely not. But I think the people that are brewing that really can tell the difference and understand, I think they'll be able to tell the difference. But I also think this gives us the opportunity to grow hops that aren't natural to the area. So like New Zealand hops in the US or hops in, Germany that can get brewed, made in Texas. I think there's a lot of improvement that can be taken, but kind of like how when we had Joe and Travis on from the Brew Detroit and Old Nation episode, how they talked about changing the water. Because obviously when you go from well water in middle Michigan versus Detroit River water, you're getting two different types of water, two different pH levels. So I think you can hone it in to where none will be the wiser. And I think this will assist in the ability to cultivate hops as well as blend hops and make hops all over, wherever we want to make them. But what was the reduction in size for the farm?
It was 95% less water. It just said less land use. It didn't say how much less land it would take.
Because, some of these hop farms are huge. And I don't know if you could take a already matured hop plant in, wherever you are and bring it into hydroponics, or if you need to wait for 3 years to have a true grow. Is it going to be 3 years? There's a lot of stuff that what would be awesome is maybe bringing back in Trey Malone, formerly at Michigan State. Now I don't know what college he's in, Dr. Trey Malone, to chat about it. Because I think that's going to be the future of a lot of industries, is the ability to adapt to these crazy weather changes. I mean, it's going to be dangerous here in the next week that we're going to have another, potential frost in Michigan after it being 80. That we are potentially going to be losing some crops here in Michigan that could hurt a lot of industry. So we remember this, 10 plus, 12 plus years ago when Zombie Killer almost doubled in price overnight just because of the cherry frost. I think that having the ability to do these indoor plantings as well as reuse for a lot of sites, because there are a lot of dead sites out there, mini malls, regular malls, office buildings that can get reuse doing more urban farming, and and build. So I think there's stuff that can be done. I think that there's going to be some adaptation. I think there'll be some people who will always be very like, oh, well, it didn't grow in the right place of, you know.
Well, I've had a lot of conversations with different brewers about the fact that you can buy a specific hop from that are grown in different places and they taste differently.
Mm.
So I think it would be interesting to see what they could actually do with the indoor crops.
Yeah, I'll definitely leave that to the scientists. I mean, Nick, they're going to be pulling all that power. What do you think of hydroponics and indoor grow sites?
Do you want my professional opinion or do you want my personal opinion?
Let's go with your professional opinion.
I would like the
first.
professional.
Oh, no, I don't want to go there, man. Oh, no.
They say it's all renewable power.
For this site, not for
that's the sites they want to create,
that
though.
site. Yeah, so
but that's what they're trying to. The model that they're trying to create is a site with renewable power.
So if it's done the right way, then that's fine. When you start dorking around with, homes, for example, that's where I get really on the fence about stuff. So I'm glad that they're doing renewable power at the site. That's the way it should be. And I think that's going to make the whole idea and the process associated with it a lot more attractive towards maybe even potential investors, potentially expand at a later date. You see, I mean, this is kind of a little out of bounds, a little bit, maybe a little off topic for a moment, but if you go to like an Ann Arbor, for example, where they're all in on renewable energy, communities like that will go all in and they will invest. So from that perspective, I think that's a wonderful idea. From the perspective of taking those ingredients that are not traditionally being grown on a farm somewhere and keep doing it in-house with artificial light and things like that, to the average beer drinker, they're not going to know any difference. I agree to Wendy's point, and to Ken, to your point, they're not going to know. But to someone who's in the business, they are going to know. But I think that can open up opportunity for something new potentially. I really like the idea of being able to grow hops that are not natural or local to the region. I really like that idea. Maybe you can get a West Coast hop. I don't know the specific names. You can get a West Coast hop on the East Coast where it's maybe a little bit more dry, a little bit more wet, for example, or something like that. So I really like the idea. Power usage is obviously going to play a factor in it, obviously. But I really like the fact that they're doing renewables local to the site. I think that's going to make it a little bit more attractive to those that are a little bit more progressive than other communities. So I really like the idea. Average beer drinkers, they probably won't even know the difference at the end of the day.
So that article actually led me into a little rabbit hole. So that's why I have a second topic. Because that first article, the first one just did not give me enough information. I had to do some research on it. So meanwhile, in Spain, they're trying to fix everything with growing stuff indoors. But in Germany, they are working on a beer powder. Now, the article that I actually found giving me more information was from the end of March. So it's a little bit older. So you might have already read about it. But apparently these monks have never tried powdered milk if they think beer powder is going to work. They're just going to add this powder to water and it's supposed to froth up and make a complete beer with a foamy head and full flavor. I will definitely have to try it in order to believe it. But they're currently testing a non-alcoholic version on the market in small quantities. They are testing in areas where transportation costs are the highest, like Asia and Africa. I also believe that it is because their beer standards aren't as high, because the company also said, and I quote, "Their goal is to put classic beer production and logistics to the test in view of the way we treat our environment. They understand that craft beer drinkers are going to be skeptical, and they're actually going to see their core target group as global resellers who don't have any beer knowledge, but can make the granules suitable for the end of consumers application. So I just thought it was very interesting. And I don't know if you guys have heard about this.
The beer powder is confusing. It's the same.
Yeah, so it's
it like a
beer
protein
Kool-Aid.
powder, basically? Like
Yep,
Kool-Aid?
it's a powder. The video showed them putting the powder in water, them taking a frother, and that was a horrible video. Don't show that. And them like blending it, and all of a sudden it's a frothy. It looks like a cappuccino. It doesn't look like a beer to me. But apparently, if things go well, like right now with the small test market for the non-alcoholic one, they're going to start trying to do alcoholic versions, which I think is, I don't know. I would have to try it.
I feel like this is, can I say it? Is it like a gimmick?
It's like Tang.
It's like Tang.
I mean,
it's Tang for adults.
I just don't know if it's going to taste the same. I don't know if it's going to taste the same.
If this was an American company, yes, it's a gimmick. 10 times out of 10. This is like German monks. And I feel like this is something kind of like Wendy's previous article where they're talking about an attempt to be a little bit more climate friendly, a little bit more renewable energy, the ability to sell a powder versus, bottles and cans shipped and on a, freight, and like there's a lot of things it can do. Can it work? I mean, I don't have the ability to understand that. Like, I don't know how they could get a alcohol into a powder and then back into an alcohol.
Apparently in one of those stories that I read, they like actually make the beer and then somehow turn it into a powder that then you add water to it and it rehydrates. I
mean,
guess.
at that point, are you really saving that much money on transportation and energy and efficiency and stuff if you're doing something like that? The other big thing too is as we talked about water, like the water is going to be different if you're in, Northern Africa versus East Asia versus, Detroit versus Williamston. Like the water is going to be different everywhere. So the beer is going to almost taste different everywhere. So I don't really see there's no good quality control for it. But again, if it was an American company, hell yeah, it's a gimmick and I'm all for it. But I feel like they have a belief behind it to make this powder. So I just believe it, I guess.
Well, and I think that's why they're trying to focus the not craft beer drinker.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is no way for us to, I don't know, Nesquik tastes different depending on who makes it too. So
I was never a Nesquik person. I never really liked chocolate milk. I don't know what it was. Just never.
No, you never.
I like chocolate milk, just not the powdered version.
Yeah, no powder. No. Although I used to drink it. I mean,
I probably when I was like 5, I would like it because it was like sugar. But by the time I was like 10, I'm like, give me a soda. Give me a Dr. Pepper, double gulp, 64 ounce.
I grew up in a household though where we drank powdered milk, and my mom would try to hide the fact that we were drinking powdered milk. So she would buy a gallon of milk, and then like the next 2 gallons would actually be powdered milk in the regular looking gallons. So you never knew what you were actually going to get when you drank it. It's not the same.
It's a lot of work.
It's not the same.
It's a lot of work, Wendy's mom.
No, because I wouldn't drink it. And if it was in a pitcher, I was like, nope, not drinking that stuff. It's not even good in your cereal. Don't lie to people.
Well, Nick, what's the article you want to chat about?
Well, I got 2 of them. One of them is really short, and then the other one is maybe not so much short, but really, so I kind of went the Wendy's route here on this one. So really quickly, I wanted to touch base on what's happening in Major League Baseball real quick. So not sure if you're familiar, they made a lot of rule changes to make the games shorter. So on average, right now, the games are around 30 minutes or so shorter than what they were for the last 10 seasons. So they were around over 3 hours, which is a pretty long game. They're now down to about 2.5 hours on average, maybe a little bit more. So with this rule change, some Major League Baseball parks are now extending beer sales to go into the later innings. Traditionally, a Major League Baseball team will cap it off during the 7th inning. They are now going 1 inning later, going into the 8th inning, which I guess kind of evens out the same time. But if you have a really, really long game that runs a little bit later, that means people are going to be sticking around a little bit later to drink. As of right now, 4 Major League Baseball teams have done this, which includes the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Texas Rangers, the Minnesota Twins, and of course, the Milwaukee Brewers. Again, not really widespread across all of the teams. I think there's 30 teams in Major League Baseball, but right now we have 4 out of the 30 that have decided to do this because of the changes in the game. Initial thoughts to this? Can we start seeing more teams, or is it just going to kind of even out at the end here?
Okay, so I have to ask a couple of questions real quick because I know you guys know that I honestly, unless it's DCFC, I don't really know what's going on. Why did they make these changes to make the game shorter?
So if you've ever been to a Major League Baseball game, the games are ridiculous. Prior to this season, have always been traditionally very, very long.
But that's tradition. Like, why?
It's actually
now.
It's generated a lot of complaints.
There's a difference between tradition and where it is now. Like the games used to be a lot shorter, but as time has grown and folks have taken advantage of rules, plate appearances have gone a lot longer. So like a pitcher will pitch to a batter 10 to 15, maybe 10, 11, 12 times before it gets to the next batter. Okay, well, what happens in between each pitch? The pitcher's going to try and pick off the guy at first base or even at third base, typically first base, which just adds time to the game, generating complaints. More time. Frankly, it just gets kind of long and drawn out after you started seeing a pitcher trying to pick off the first base runner multiple times when the first base runner is clearly not going anywhere because he's too slow. So I'm not sure why they do that. But that's kind of one of the reasons why Major League Baseball is making some of the changes. And the changes were welcome. They added a pitch clock, kind of like a shot clock in basketball. Now they got a pitch clock in baseball that the pitcher can see. If he doesn't get it off in a certain amount of time, well, then the batter gets a walk, essentially, or a ball, So that's kind of the reason why. Excuse me. So we've seen games shorter this year so far. We're only just, a week or two into the season, but right now they're on pace to be shorter than what they were back in 1984, which is around 2 hours and 38 minutes or so, which is a half hour.
The last time I really paid attention to baseball.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. It's fine.
There's a video that you could find. I think it was on TikTok at one point, but I'm sure you could find it on Instagram Reels or Facebook or whatever, where they measured how long it took for one pitcher to go from pitch 1 to pitch 2. And it versed someone who ran an inside the park home run, which is roughly 120 yards. And this person was able to basically do 4 laps inside the park home runs between pitch 1 and pitch 2.
Okay.
And that
I get.
That's one pitch. And of course, if you're pitching 6 to 7 pitches per person and you're doing, 20, 25 pitches per inning, like the amount of time that was being wasted is just like, because the pitcher would take a break and then the batter would step out of the box and then the pitcher would throw, like, there's just too many things that really dragged the game on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very historical Like there was no heritage that's being lost except for the rule that's being changed. But the
Yeah.
rule's being changed because the pitcher was taking advantage of the rules, the batter was taking advantage of the rules, the runner was taking advantage of the rules, it made nobody want to watch anymore.
It's just, yeah. So just really quickly before I go into the next article here, in 1901, around the first year that they actually started keeping track of game lengths and all that, the average Major League Baseball game in 1901, keeping in mind there were over 1,100 games that year, was an hour and 49 minutes. For the last decade, minus 2023, they've been in excess of over 3 hours. That's how long the games have gotten. Now, they've obviously progressed a little by little each year, but as we got into the apex and, the 20 teens and everything, they've gotten significantly longer. 3 hours and 11 minutes was the average game length in the first pseudo-normal year after the pandemic season. So,
Yeah,
in the pandemic season, when there was no fans, it was still over 3 hours. So,
I think the rule change is necessary, but I also think with the advent of being able to call Uber and a lot of these places having mass public transportation, that these unofficial rules, because the big thing is that everyone says there's no other bar or restaurant has these rules where you have to stop selling so far before, except for last call when you have the mark. But last call is 2 a.m. here in Michigan. The games don't last until 2 a.m. They end at 9:30, 10 o'clock. But that's because everyone drives into the city, comes into the city via driving. So that's why they want to be a little bit more safer. They want to be a little bit more, make sure people are not getting way too drunk. The issue with that is that you can't control people getting drunk. You can't control people pre-gaming. You can't control people post-gaming. So really at this point in 2023 with the technology and these spots being in downtown areas, I don't even see a reason to not follow just standard last call rules. Unless it's more for business purposes, where you need to close up shop so everyone can leave at a good time. But I mean, even at the end of a game, not everyone's gone right away. Like, it could be better, in my opinion. So yeah.
I feel like they need to follow those same rules for concerts. Because that's usually the time when I go to all these arenas that we're talking about.
Dirty concert season.
Or ballparks or whatever.
Yeah, I like concerts and stuff. There are a lot of concerts that the second that the last act goes on, everything's closed. Like last call is the last intermission.
Yeah. So talking about that for a second, what if you went to like a big festival, like where there's many acts throughout the day? Like one that comes to mind, I don't even know if they don't have it anymore, but back in the day, Ozfest was like an all-day affair. If you went to Ozfest from start to finish, when are you stopped? I mean,
they would probably stop it. I think Ozfest would probably stop when the main headliner went on.
But Ozfest lasted all day. You would go there at noon, and then you would not get out of there till 11 o'clock at night when most concerts typically end.
Ken,
you're muted.
Yeah, last call would be like 10, 15.
That's it. Now that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
I expect when I go to Movement here in a month, and depending on what time like Underworld goes on Monday, like they probably might not go on. Like when we went to Darude didn't start his set until midnight, and they were still selling drinks until about 1 o'clock. They treated it as if it was a club.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bar, nightclub. Yeah.
I mean, we're just describing a spot with 500 people versus 15,000.
Yeah.
Well, but then for people like me who would limit themselves to so many drinks while I was there over a period of time, now that's stopping me from actually buying like my second drink, because that would be the time I would go and get it. I would have to buy it ahead of time and then drink it warm.
Well, yeah, that's the big issue too. Is are you, because if it's last call and you know what's last call, are you drinking more?
You're double fisting.
Are you bringing two? I mean, Wendy's shaking her head no. I'm on the other hand like.
Give me like two pineapple pilsners right now.
If I'm not driving.
How many drinks can I take back? Oh, I can take back 3? Great. Then I'm going to buy 3, yeah, to drink for the rest of the set.
I mean, isn't that normally the rule of thumb anyways? You can only buy so many at a time.
Usually it's 2, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, that's the... I'm going to buy 2 now and potentially drink them faster than... you letting me buy 1 and potentially buy 1 later, or, you know, depending on how fast I drink the first one. Like, I feel like these types of rules create the ability for more people to get drunker faster, quicker, than spreading it out and potentially not drinking when you don't need to, or drinking because you're not driving, because you have public transpo, you have an Uber, you have somebody else designated driving. But again, like, let's look, we talked about Pine Knob in the episode 316. How many times have you gone to Pine Knob and drank in the parking lot before you went into Pine Knob?
Oh yeah,
every time.
Countless times.
How many times have you gone to a sold out show at Pine Knob and you know you're not leaving for another hour because it's going to take you that long just to get out?
Hour, that's a late estimate.
Yeah, I would say that's
Where'd you park? Were you the last one in?
So yeah, one time I did.
He's all the way on the grassy field in the farthest corner where the homes are at.
He's the one right next to the guy going, you got to go that way.
Goo Goo Dolls Matchbox 20 was the most ridiculous time that I parked, was at that show. We got there, not a spot on the lawn. We had to sit on the other side of the hill because we couldn't even watch the show. That's how many people were there, and that's how packed it was.
That's terrible.
I was at that show.
That's a horrible concert experience.
I mean,
you just have to get there early enough to get a good seat.
Yeah, well,
if you're too cheap to buy seats.
I know. I'm going to see Bare Naked Ladies with my sister this year, and I'm like, we went a few years ago and sat on the lawn, and I'm like, nope, never again.
I'm too old to buy lawn seats anymore. I don't care.
But I'm gonna say, Ken, you want to go see Baby Metal and Def Clock coming up?
I would probably die with the strobe lights.
Fair enough.
I don't know how I'm gonna survive Underworld.
You better wear some dark ass sunglasses, just like Corey Hart. You wear your sunglasses at night.
Go on, Wendy.
Real quick, I have a fun story about Comerica Park, because I went to see Bon Jovi there, and I had been trying to see that band for like 15 years at that point. And something always happened that I couldn't go and see him. So I finally got tickets. My friend and I were there. We had like 6 or 7 people with us. We went up to get beers. They would only let you get 2 beers per person. And we were trying to take beers for like a bunch of people. So my friend and I were standing in lines. We made friends with the people behind us. I bought 2 beers. She bought 2 beers. She got the guy behind us to buy 2 beers. And he carried them back to our seats for us, with his girlfriend carrying the 2 beers behind her, his 2 beers behind him. That was the funniest thing I'd ever seen, that she managed to talk somebody not only into buying her beers, but to carry him back to her seat.
So Dan in the chat goes, you know, he gets trashed in the Pine Knob parking lot before his show. I think that's a lot of people.
That's everybody.
It's basically a tailgate. For those that aren't in Michigan, Pine Knob is an outdoor concert venue, and when you go to Pine Knob, it's basically like a party in the parking lot. You go in and you go to the concert, and then you, like, everyone leaves at the same time, and of course you're all just, it takes forever to leave. So you drink before the show, you drink at the show, you drink after the show, especially if you're not driving. So when they do these cutoffs, it's almost pointless, because especially at these sites, it's almost a cultural thing now that you're pre-gaming. You're drinking before you get in the venue. You're drinking at the venue, and everybody drives to the venue. It's not something that you can really even necessarily Uber to. It's a hard as all hell the place to get in and out of. Yeah, Dan says you also tailgate after waiting for people to leave. Exactly. So I feel like we as a culture, we as a people in the US have moved past the necessity to need that last call pre last, like, natural last call, we'll call it pre 2 a.m. in Michigan or 4 a.m. Miami or wherever, never in Vegas. We don't have that because we're going to drink if we want to. If you're at Ford Field, you're gonna go to a bar if you want to go drink. If you're at JLA, you're gonna go to Hockey Town Cafe, like JLA, sorry, Little Caesars Arena, LCA. But that's the thing, is that it's just kind of like an outdated practice. Now, could I probably find someone who works for like MDOT or something like that has statistics of before that happened and after and what, great, give me that and then I'll be back on board. But until then, I think if people are going to drink, they're going to drink. I don't think stopping sales at 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. seventh inning or second intermission is going to stop them from not going to Jacoby's or Honest John's or something after a show or after a game.
Especially if we're training people how to not overserve.
Exactly. I think that's probably an even more important thing. And when you're the issue with that, Wendy, is that when you're in like a quick service restaurant and you're trying to like turn a line,
right.
That's not necessarily not because you don't care. It's just not the thing that's front of mind because you're busy trying to get to the next customer because you got a line of 20 drunk guys who are pissed off that it's taking so long because everyone's paying by credit card.
But all those people that are serving you beer at all of those venues have had that training.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But in the same token, the person that's cut off is going to go line shop. You cut me off at section 102. I'm going to go to 106. This is me pretending I'm a drunk guy who got cut off. Not normal Ken.
Well, if they keep sending him to different places, then he's going to be sober by the time he gets to the done anyway. By the time they stop telling him no anyways. I'm just saying.
I want to talk about one thing before we end the show tonight, as Nick did say he had a couple articles, but he said he wanted me to participate in the news sharing today. So
I did not expect to have that conversation, by the way. So I'm glad we had this conversation.
So from the PR Newswire from Yahoo Finance, the global craft beer market size is estimated to grow by $79 billion from 2021 to 2026. The market is estimated to grow at 12.2% during that period. North America, this is international, by the way. North America will take over a little bit more than a third of that market during that period. My question, I guess, and thought and theories to you guys is that we've talked about the bubble, and this ain't no bubble. This is literally the continued massive growth over the next 5 years of roughly 12%. Sure, we're not growing at the rate that it used to be, but I still think it is a massive rate, which I think this proves my point from a few news weeks ago that the craft beer bubble is no longer a thing. Craft beer is no longer dead. What do you guys think? Like, do you think that with this type of global market scale, especially international, that just craft beer is here to stay and there's nothing you can do about it?
When you said all those things, Ken, it feels almost like everything we've talked about on this show for the last several months about the bubble is just contradictory. This says that there's no such thing as a bubble, or the bubble just doesn't exist at this point. When you say it's growing at the rate that it's growing and what it's expected to reach here in the next 2.5, 3 years, I feel like all of our talk about a bubble has just now become, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but it's definitely going in that general direction without even having to read the article based on what you just told me. That's where I feel like this is going. All the talk about a bubble, it's almost like it's all but gone at this point.
I just don't think anything's going to stop craft beer except for like
craft beer is going to stop craft beer.
Well, there's going to be some
Does it become its own worst enemy?
absorption in the market. I think a lot of people will purchase other breweries, but I really don't think like again, these breweries are going to keep popping up. We have new ones every single week almost now on the Michigan Brewery Map app. We have another 30 to 40 on the Michigan Brewery Map app that are ready to be opened here soon. If you go to mibeermap.com, you can download the app for free. It's free for you, free for all users. It's a great source to find every single brewery in the state of Michigan and every beer festival. We have every single fucking beer festival up there in the state of Michigan, which is crazy for you to now know where to go and celebrate beer, including the upcoming World Expo, which is
Right
going to
around
be
the corner.
May 19th and 20th, which you can go bug Wendy there. Go say hi to her. Ask her for tickets. She says she's going to give everyone free tickets that finds her.
Wait, what? Say that again? Who am I giving tickets to?
Anyone that finds you.
I said anyone that finds you at the World Expo of Beer, you're going to give them drink tickets.
Is that in my budget?
No, that's coming straight out of your JC's pocket.
We're a community service organization, so let's talk about that. But I will definitely. I might could put a ticket or two from my pocket.
That's a joke, by the way. Please do not go bug Wendy for tickets at the World Expo.
Definitely come and say hi.
Say hi. But just don't bug her for her ticket.
Maybe if you're the first person that sees her, she'll get.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you're the first, maybe
is that in your budget, Wendy?
Oh yeah, like first 10 people that come and say hi, I'll give you that. I'll get you a drink.
I was being nice. I said just do the first 3.
That's the World Expo Beer, Frankenmuth, Michigan, May 19th and 20th. Folks, be smart. Get a hotel. You can go stay at the Bavarian Inn Lodge. It's within walking distance of the festival.
Get the chicken dinner if you haven't gotten it. Get the chicken dinner.
And maybe if you're lucky, you go to the bar at the Bavarian Inn. Well, one of the bars, the main bar
of the bars
at the Bavarian Inn Lodge. They're usually open afterwards. We had a girl that. By I say girl, I mean she was like 8 and she sang America the Beautiful on karaoke. Weirdest experience ever. Because that's not at a bar, yeah. It's where the kids arcade is and the mini golf and I mean it's where the food is too. So
were you in the downstairs area?
Yeah, over by the mini golf area.
Like the big huge, yeah.
Yeah. But we got there. Compliments to our friend, as we talked about Oddside on the show last time, on episode 316, Wes. Wes bought a pitcher of beer and just like started pouring everyone beers. So it was Oddside beer at least. So
there you go. I would even go out and even recommend that you get a hotel room at Splash Village, because then you can go to the water park afterwards.
I mean,
drink some beer and then go down the slides. Oh, come on, man. You can't tell me that's not fun.
How do you not like get stuck in the slides with all that hair and like soaking up all the water, Nick?
You know what? Fuck you.
Fucking Bigfoot over there.
I went. Me and Tara and Brody. We took Brody there during Martin Luther King weekend, because it was like the only weekend that they actually had the water park open. They had, the extended weekend. It's a lot of fun, man. Especially if you're taking your 2-year-old, but it's a lot of fun. The slides are actually like water park level type of slides there at Splash Village. But I don't know if drinking beer for 5 hours and then going down a water slide, maybe.
I have to differentiate. Splash Village is actually at Zender's, isn't it?
It is at Zender's.
And Bavarian Inn is the one that we were talking about, who also has their own water park, which is they're both fantastic places. I suggest both of them.
I have not gone to the Bavarian Inn one. We were only able to get reservations at Splash Village at the time.
So let's go back. Michigan Brewery Map app. You can find plenty of craft beer festivals over there, including the upcoming Traverse City Beer Fest, which is the Michigan Brewers Guild Beer Festival here in May. I will be there running around with my media credentials. So come say hi to me. I'll have extra tokens for you because they're only 50 cents a piece. So I could be money bags over there and give everyone extra drinks. There's plenty of other festivals that are upcoming, including there's 3 Zoo Brews this year that you can go check out. There is
coming back. Yeah.
Comstock Park, I believe at the same spot as the Winter Beer Festival is the Donut and Beer Festival. So you can go to the Donut and Beer Festival over on May 6th. Oddly enough, none of these people are paying me. I'm just here because I love beer and I want you to go drink Michigan beer. That is going to do it for the craft beer news. Because I believe we've always we've definitely talked about the bubble ad nauseum. It doesn't exist anymore. Fight me. That's going to do it, the news segment. April 14th, 2023, we will be back next week, folks. The one of the furthest away breweries that we've ever had on the show, but still in the United States, that is Alaskan Brewery, will be on next week. We will be off on the 28th, but back on the 5th. We've got a special guest. I'm so excited because they've got so much to update us on. And that is Bee Nectar is coming back on. Carrie and Brad, the owners of Bee Nectar, to talk about their seltzer business, their now brewing business, which is more than just a few barrels a year. And of course, their mead business. Mead, cider, sizer, everything that they do over there. So we are back next week, the 21st, and then the 5th. So we're off on the 28th. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's right up on the sign, folks. Better on draft. Have a good night.